Horry County UNA Cultural Center Boutique and Wellness Spa. And we have with us today a very blessed guest, Dr. Geraldine Fox. Did I say that correctly? Okay, because I know it's Reverend Dr. Geraldine Fox. We'll make sure we get that correct. Okay, all right. And how are you this morning?
I am doing amazing. I woke up early, around 6 or so, and we're in Myrtle Beach for my family's reunion. And so at 6:45 this morning, we had family prayer on the beach.
I love that. I love
and
that.
so it was a perfect start to a great day. Perfect start.
Let's do a prayer to
Yes.
start our show off. How does that look?
Yes.
Will you bless us with the prayer?
I will. Thank you. Father God, we thank you for allowing us another day. We thank you for giving me this opportunity to meet a special person. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your love and your tender mercies. We thank you for safe travels. And God, we thank you for allowing us to see a brand new day that we've never seen before, but it is filled with your love, your mercy, and your peace. We pray your blessings upon this show. We pray your blessings upon everything that Doreen does, Lord God. Bless it in a special way. And if you do these things, we will never praise your name. We give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
That was a little story. So, we met,
Yes.
I'm going to say maybe a few months ago.
April.
In April.
Yes.
And you came down, and we have been in communication ever since. You told me that you had written, you're an author.
Yes.
So let's go. Author, Reverend Dr. Geraldine.
Listen,
Okay.
all those titles are not important.
Okay.
What's important is that I be a vessel for God. That's the most important thing. The titles are, just accomplishments, but it does not define me. Yes.
And the book is entitled
The Mighty Hands of God, the Miracle Worker.
I love the title. And I explained to you, so Dr. Geraldine and I had spoken yesterday, and I told you I kind of reviewed your book again.
Yes.
And I got as far as the forward, where this book is about,
Yes.
and I had to stop. The tears just started flowing.
Yes.
And I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't get them to stop. It hit me. And one of the things that was so, that connected so much with me was how you explained the photograph on the front cover.
Yes.
And you analyzed and you kind of looked at the front. And you can't, from the very beginning, the hand you don't necessarily see right on. Tell us a little bit about the cover.
Well, the cover is very unique. A friend of mine gave me that painting. It's an actual painting that I have. A friend of mine gave it to me in 2002. And I had just met him for the first time. He was actually just working in Charlotte. And after we had dinner, he said, I've got a special gift for you. And he shipped it to me. After a friend of mine, Ed Jones, and I had dinner, first time I'd ever met him. And we just laughed and we talked. But it was something I think I said throughout our conversation that struck him. And he said to me, I have a very special gift that I want to send you. And within a week, I got this big, it was already framed, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's like 36 by 36, something like that.
Wow, it's like
huge.
a living room portrait.
Oh yes, it is.
Um,
And when I got it, I cried, I think, 2 weeks because the lady in the red dress was
Yeah.
me. And what
You
I was
saw
going
yourself.
through, it was just me. Hanging on for dear life, going through the storms of life. The rope breaking, that was me. And that's all I saw for about a month. And one day I was coming down my stair and I just looked at the picture and I saw the hand beneath.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh God, even if my rope breaks, you have me. And I just dwelt on that for a period of time. And maybe 2 months later, I saw the hand above her. And I'm,
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even, there's a hand. I
under.
don't, so I have to go back and, okay, so we have the book right here.
Yes.
Everyone can see the book. And you are absolutely right. So he has you.
Yes, he's in control.
Yes, yes.
And that was the thing that stuck out. He's in control. And I'm like, God, everything that's happened all these years, having children that I really did not plan or had no intent, God was in control. And so that painting gave me such peace. It brought a peace in my life that taught me that now, because I know he's in control, I gotta totally depend on him completely.
Isn't there a sense of peace when you realize that?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. No,
And
go
you
ahead.
learn to listen.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. When you know that he's in control, you learn to listen for his voice.
A lot of people don't understand that. You can actually hear.
You can,
If you're real quiet and real still,
yes,
you can
yes,
hear him. And
yes.
he guides you.
Every step of the way, in the tiniest details of your life.
I understand that.
The tiniest details, yes.
I've definitely had some trials and tribulations. I don't know how someone can go through life and not have any trials and tribulations. But I always, since I was a little girl, now I'm that little girl, I was in elementary school. And sometimes I would miss my opportunity to wake up in the morning and go to church. So I used to go to my mom and I'd say, Mama, I want to go to church, I want to go to church. So I would go upstairs, get dressed, and I would walk to church, which was probably maybe about, I don't know, I'm
You
not
did
sure.
that.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
did.
That's where I needed to be.
Yes, yes.
And so explain a little bit more about your testimonials that kind of guided you to write the book after seeing the portrait, right?
Well, no.
No?
I've been a writer from a little girl.
Okay.
I used to write fiction stories in second, third, fourth, fifth grade, and my mom stopped because I made up stories and I wrote them, and they would be so interesting that my teachers would literally read them. But Mom stopped me. She said, "You are writing lies." She said, "Fiction is not truth. If you're gonna write, you gotta write truth." So I just stopped. In fifth grade, I stopped writing, but it was always in me. After, when I was about 17 years old, God began to show me visions of my life. And I took it that I would control my life, not realizing that He was in total control.
A lot of people see it that way.
Yes.
And so they have
Yes. And so I
power.
tried to do that. I tried to control every aspect of my life. I wanted it just perfect according to me. According to what I thought. My little people. I don't know what made me think that I could come up with this perfect life. But I did, and I failed at every turn. But God had already shown me my future. And so as I went through high school, writing left my mind. Writing left my mind because God had shown me this career that I had. So that became my focus. And after high school and into marriage, which I thought I was the happiest bride on the earth. Oh my God, I was so in love. And
Okay.
I just thought that,
I can see it on your face.
I just thought I would be married to that beautiful. I really did. That was it. It just took me totally off my But
Okay.
God showed it to me 6 months earlier. God gave me a vision.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And in the vision, God showed me my children, my husband at that time, in a coffin, and literally buried alive.
Is that what happened? No.
No,
Let me make sure I understand.
that was the dream.
That was the dream.
That was the dream. He was literally buried alive by family members, his father, his brothers. And I went on a total shutdown, fasting, praying, day and night, and it happened just as suddenly in the marriage. He didn't die physically, he's still alive.
Go ahead and finish with how you were saying that he actually. So your husband actually passed away.
No,
He's still alive.
Yes, yes.
Praise the Lord. Okay.
As we speak, he is alive. In the dream, and I think the dream was symbolic of the death of the marriage. The dream was, I had to accept that fact. But initially, I didn't want to, but as time went on, and even after the initial actions took place, when I found out that he was actually living with someone else, and you know,
Really?
I stayed in a marriage another 8 years, trying to relive, trying to bring it back to life. You know, because we had 5 children, and a few years later we had another child. So we each actually have 5 sons and 1 daughter. So I didn't want my children to grow up without their father. They loved him, I loved him, and I did not want my children to grow up. But that was not his intent.
See, if I can interrupt you, my aunts, grandmothers, let's call it old school. You know, wisdom, true wisdom.
Yes.
They stuck through marriages thick and thin.
Yes.
So God do his part,
Yes.
and they meant those words.
Yes.
And in today's families, it's quite different.
Yes.
He was steering you in the direction that
yes.
he wanted you to go.
Absolutely.
And he knew.
And I have no regrets. I have absolutely no regrets.
I could say the same thing. I could say the same thing. So that, when did the urge or the spark to start back writing?
Well, my life, throughout everything that I've gone through, I journaled. I kept notes. I wrote. Because that was the way that I could overcome some of the things that I had gone through. I had to write it down. And in my writing, after I retired, I didn't think about writing anymore until I actually retired from the government work. I worked 33 years for the federal government.
Okay, so it was years later.
Oh yes,
Many years later.
Many years later. So that would be evidence that you graduated from high school. It didn't matter the time you went to college. And so at one time I had 3 children in college. I was in college all at the same time. Yes.
He was steering you in the direction that
he
wanted you to go.
Absolutely.
And he knew.
And I have no regrets. I have absolutely no regrets.
I could say the same thing. I could say the same thing. So that, when did the urge or the spark to start back writing?
Well, my life, throughout everything that I've gone through, I journaled. I kept notes. I wrote. Because that was the way that I could overcome some of the things that I had gone through. I had to write it down. And in my writing, after I retired, I didn't think about writing anymore until I actually retired from the government work. I worked 33 years for the federal government.
Okay, so it was years later.
Oh yes,
Many years later.
Many years later.
And see, I used to still, and I still do it now. I journal and write. So my Bibles are, you can barely keep them closed because there's so many notes and journals.
And with that investment came a writing college
Yeah.
because I wanted to write professionally. I didn't want to just write like I used to write in elementary school.
Right.
I wanted to write on a professional basis.
Or have a ghostwriter or someone else
Yes.
write it and
I
write your
didn't want to
thoughts.
ghostwrite it because they could not tell my story the way I wanted it. So I wanted to write it myself. So I got a writing coach that helped me just put it out there the way I wanted to. And this guy was so phenomenal. When I told my story, he said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "this has to go on pen and paper." So he helped me. He was my writing coach.
So tell us about the book.
Okay, The Mighty Hands of God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get to the title later because I just wanted to focus on my parents, my family, and tell my story. I had the best parents in the whole world. I had a mom that was so loving. And let me tell you a little bit about my parents. My mother was in her very early 20s, and she got married to my father, who was 40 years old. He was 40. My dad was 40 years old when he married my mother. So,
nice little gap there.
yes. So my dad had never been married, never had any children. So I'm his first child.
Okay.
And it was such a beautiful love story with my parents. But my dad was very jovial, very comical, the hardest working man I've ever seen in my life. Where on the other hand, my mom was quiet, reserved, beautiful, shaped, beautiful skin, but she was a disciplinarian. My father was not.
A little bit more laid back.
He was laid back. We were like his grandchildren. That's how he treated us. Like we were grandchildren. We wanted for nothing. But my mom, and we were bad. We were little, because it was 5 of us.
Okay.
So my parents had 5 children. I was the oldest. And we were getting stuff. So my mom was a disciplinarian, but she was highly spiritual, very spiritual. And the thing about my mother that resonated with me the most was Mom prayed fervently. And I used to pray for that. God give me that kind of praying spirit that my mom had. When we woke up in the morning, the first things would hit our ear was my mom would be praying her heart out.
I would be singing spirituals, gospel songs.
Yes, Mom would be praying. When we walked in the house from school, if she wasn't in the kitchen preparing dinner, she would be somewhere praying. When we went to bed at night, my sisters and I would lay awake to see who could be the last one to go to sleep without Mom praying. Because when we went to sleep at night, that's the last thing we heard was my mother praying. She was a prayer. And we would hear her literally call our names in her prayer. She prayed special prayers for each one of us. And so that was my upbringing. My dad working hard. We grew up on a farm. We planted. If you could eat it, my dad planted. We didn't eat pork. My dad had cows, goats, chickens. That's how we ate. We grew up. But as I grew up with my parents and my siblings, we were all very close. We were very tight-knitted. My 3 sisters and my 2 younger brothers. And now I've lost all of my younger siblings except my brother. The older of my 2 brothers. It's just the 2 of us now. It's just the 2 of us. But we're blessed in spite of it. And so, yes. Oh my God, yes. And so, as I wrote the book, I wanted to focus on my family, my children, my parents, my siblings, my upbringing to get me to the point of my life, because the book is about my life. And so I wrote about my marriage, the happy years, the bad years, the things that have happened afterward. And I still did not have a title for my book. So I was talking to a friend of mine that lives in Charleston, Deborah, and she said, "Fox, what's the title of the book?" And I said, "Deborah, this is so crazy. I finished the book and I don't have a title.
Okay.
And she said, but you know what? I've known you all your life. And ever since I've known you, you've been in the hands of God.
Oh.
The light goes off. The light goes off.
Yes.
The light goes off. And immediately that painting, I said, Deborah, hang up before I lose this. I said, I got it, I got it, I got it. I went and I stood at that painting and those two paintings, the one beneath and the one above, the mighty hands of God. Even if my rope break, God has me, but on the top side, He's in control. And so that's what stood out. And then I thought about, as I wrote my book, I wrote about miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. My life has been flooded with miracles. Someone wrote on Amazon, they had never seen so many miracles. They did not know those type of miracles still exist. And I'm telling you, my son Leonard, my third son, was in a really bad accident. He was working for a trucking company. And the guys, when they bring the tanks back, they're supposed to release all the pressure from the cement that's in the tank. And my son cleaned the tanks. When he went to clean this one, it was filled with pressure. It knocked him up about 1,000 feet in the air. People miles around could see him twirling in the air.
And he survived that.
When he came down, he was on his feet.
Don't even say it. Are you
And when
serious?
he hit the ground.
Oh, that was nothing but the Lord.
He
Seriously.
was standing,
No broken bones, no.
none.
Praise the Lord. Yeah.
I tell you the miracles, God, I thank you.
Yes. You know what? I remember my favorite footprints. See the same thing?
Yes.
The same thing. Footprints. Sometimes when you don't understand what's going on, that's when God, He's carrying you.
Yes.
He's carrying you, and He has you.
Yes.
He has you. And some you don't realize it, you don't think about it, but He has you.
Absolutely. I get emotional. Forgive me.
I'm gonna get you a napkin.
I think I have a tissue. But when I think of all, I tell you, the miracles that God has put in my life. When I went to buy my house in Charlotte, I was penniless.
We have some parallels going on.
Zero.
My first house, I put my sons teased me, but I put it on layaway.
Mine was too.
It was a layaway type of situation going on, you know.
I have no clue how I qualified for that house, honestly. But God directed me.
Yes.
He carried me. Even the street that my house is built on, the subdivision was brand new. There were maybe 5 houses in the whole subdivision. So when the builder took me down the street, there were no houses, just little lots. And so, but what made me go down that street was the street was lit up 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just like these lights are on. That's how the street was lit up. And so I said to him, let's go down this street. And when we got almost in the cul-de-sac, there was this light shining on the spot. And I said, that's my spot. You gotta open the door because you know I have no money. This was May that this happened. That he started on the house June. My down payment when the house was to be completed was $7,600.
And you had no money to start. She said,
no money. No.
okay, so we need to hear this.
So I had a realtor because my brother, the one that's living, he's a realtor. He connected me with the realtor in Charlotte. So she called me the end of June and she said, Miss Fox, we got your down payment down from 7,600 to 4,700.
That's nice.
And I'm like, Lord, I
That's
thank you. You already working
Mhm.
in my behalf.
Mhm.
Fast forward, July. I first got my paycheck in July. When I got my paycheck, it wasn't right. They had $6,000 more than what I normally get. I knew I had the wrong person's paycheck. I wouldn't
You said
touch it
$6,000 difference.
more than what I normally get.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I can't even pay my bills because this is not my paycheck.
Oh, so you didn't want to, you knew you didn't want to cash it, you didn't want to do anything?
I couldn't do
This
nothing
isn't
with
my
it
money,
because this
something.
isn't my money.
Right, right.
And I don't want them to come back at me.
Right.
About 3 days later, my boss had a stand-up meeting in the hallway, and he said, Jerry, I need you to get in the center. I said, you pick on me all the time. You know, he said, this is history in the Department of Labor. We have an on-the-spot cash award of $6,000.
I don't even,
Miracles.
won't you do it?
And then,
You don't even know.
let me tell you, about 3 weeks later, my realtor called me again and she said, Geraldine, because now the house is being built, I'm watching them. I'm out there every day.
And this is a built house.
I'm watching them.
Up.
I'm watching them build this house. I'm watching them dig the foundation. I watched them put the walls to see at the top. And she called me the end of July and said, Geraldine, we got your down payment even less. She said, they haven't given me the numbers, but your down payment is lower
Than the 4 now?
than the 4.7. And so she said, when I get the numbers, I'll let you know. Well, she never called me back until the 29th of August. And she said, you know, they finished your house. We're going to do the final walkthrough tomorrow. You got to have your down payment. And I was so excited because they were a week ahead of schedule. I didn't even think about how much. I go to the credit union where I put the check, the $6,000. And I'm standing in the line and I'm saying, no cell phones. We didn't have cell phones then. This was in 2001. God, I don't know how much money I need for this cashier's check. I don't know how to
Oh, so you at the bank trying to get the cashier's check with a deposit, but you don't know how much to get the cashier's
how
check.
much to get it for.
Okay.
And God says to me, $2,900. I said, that's the devil. I honestly, I said, that's the devil trying to distract me, trying to fool me.
Don't let him in. Don't let him in.
And
The
so
devil.
when I got to the counter, I don't know where $3,700 came from, but I said to the cashier, give me a cashier's check out of my account for $3,700. She typed it up, and when she went to take it off the printer, the check tore in half, just like 2 hands were there. The check, God is my witness.
Okay. So she's ripping it, but she actually ripped it in half. She's ripping it off the printer.
She's taking it off the printer.
She's taking it off the
But
printer.
the check tore in half. She said, oh, Miss Fox, I am so sorry. She said, this has never happened to me before. I said, well, that's fine. It's perfect. I said, because this time, when you reprint the check, reprint it for $2,900. I said, you can give me the cash since you've already withdrawn the $3,700 out of my account. But I want this cashier's check to be $2,900 because that proved to me that was God.
Oh my goodness!
That was God.
Yes. I know I sound a little whatever, everyone, but it's like
that was
yes.
That was God. And fast forward, the next day when we did the walkthrough, and this is in my book, it's documented. When I did the walkthrough,
that is a movie.
When I did the walkthrough, I said to Renee, my realtor, you did not call me with the final amount. So I have a cashier's check, but I'm just going by what God said. She said, oh, I forgot. So we called over to the office. We jumped in her little bug, went over there. They gave me the paper off the printer, and I immediately lost it.
It wasn't good.
$2,927.27. I wrote a personal check for $27.27.
I don't even know if I have the words to respond to that.
It's all God.
That's what I'm thinking. That's footprints. That's when he's carrying you.
Yes.
I got you.
And out of that $6,000 that God blessed me with, He guided every step of how I spent it. He guided me where to get my kitchen, my dining set. He woke me up one Saturday morning and told me to go to Hickory. I furnished my whole house with less than $2,000. When I tell you, God is amazing.
Yes,
I wouldn't take my life if I can't serve Him.
He's
my
been
life.
so good.
Yes,
He's been so good.
So good.
Woo!
So good. So good. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I feel it.
So good. And my book is just full of miracles. Miracles, 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 miracles. And that's why the title of it, The Mighty Hands of God, a Miracle Worker.
That's a perfect ending. Because that was a beautiful story.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful. And it is so nice to know that the kids that are in the book
Yes.
are now grown,
Yes.
striving, thriving,
Yes.
healthy.
Yes.
That is the
And
best thing.
4 of my 6 children are here in Myrtle Beach.
We have to meet. I hope that we get a chance to meet.
Yes.
If not this time, then
Yes.
please
We
come
took
back.
pictures this morning, as a matter of fact. They were going to breakfast and I was coming here.
Okay, send me a couple pictures and we'll make
will.
sure that we incorporate
Yes.
that. And I'm also going to note that I'm going to say it again, even though titles don't mean anything. Author, Reverend Dr. Geraldine Fox.
And I need to make a correction.
Okay.
I was promoted from Reverend to Elder. Right.
Elder
So,
Fox.
yes.
So I'm gonna pay that respect and say Elder Fox.
It's okay.
And you
I'm
can.
not.
It's not
Titles do not define me. I'm not one of those persons that I'm all about the titles. And the doctor is an honorary. I got an honorary doctorate degree based on my book. I went to a church to do a book signing.
See?
Not knowing that Dr. Flowers, who's the chancellor of FMI Bible College, was there along with several of his professors. And I did a presentation, and he was blown through the cracks. He came out and just brought a stack of books at that book signing. And a few days later, he wanted me to meet with him and several of his professors, and they offered me an honorary doctorate degree.
See?
And since then, I had started my master's back in 2007, but overwhelmed with work and all of those things, I did not complete. But I finally graduated this past May with my master's
degree. Did you
degree.
really? In what?
Yes.
What's your
In
master's
biblical studies.
In biblical studies.
And I'm getting ready to re-enroll to take graduate classes for pastoral counseling.
Well, let's go back, and you've done extraordinary work, and he's definitely had you covered the full way, and still has you covered.
Yes.
You're actually glowing. There's a smile. There's a smile on Elder Fox's face, and it's just you know why? Because you know,
Yes.
right?
And
Because
I
you
love
know.
God with every fiber.
Yes.
And when I look at my children and I see the fact that God allowed me to raise 5 sons and my daughter, and I've never ever spent 5 cents getting any of them out of trouble, jail, drugs, alcohol. They're all
That's a blessing.
just
That's a
blessed.
blessing. I'm glad that you had an opportunity. Elder Fox stopped by the Horry County UNA Cultural Center and Boutique. We're in right now the Wellness Spa, where we focus on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is a mission of the United Nations. And good health and well-being, mind, body, and spirit is what we focus on in the Wellness Spa. But Elder Fox stopped by the boutique before she left last time she paid a visit, and she bought this beautiful scarf that she is wearing, and it looks absolutely beautiful with what she has on. I want to thank you. I want to thank you because you somehow your blessings. I feel I receive, and I accept the blessings that I feel from today's interview. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And may God continue to watch over you and bless you and your family and your children.
This is so, the atmosphere is so endearing.
Thank you. That's what I want for the people to take.
Yes, and I love flowers, you know. I have a son in the spirit of flowers. So this is my habitat.
We'll see you next time.